Today on Smackey's Garage, we're going to be changing out the differential fluid on my 2018 F-150. This is a really simple project to do. It's a few easy steps. So let's go ahead and let's start prepping this truck to come apart. Okay, looking at my truck, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get everything ready and we're going to see if we can get enough room under here to do this project. Now the rear differential under here is going to be pretty easy to get to. I'm actually going to drop this tire just to give myself a little bit more clearance because it's going to make it extra easy, but there are other ways you could do this. You could actually jack up the truck and put the rear on jack stands. This is an extra step, but back here behind the rear passenger seat, you can see the tools that you need to take this apart. So I'm just going to go ahead and take my key, stick it in here. And then with this one, I'm going to go ahead and just twist this down. Now I'm going to go ahead and put this back up, but I'll lube everything back up after I get everything back together. Okay, now with that off, you can see it's nice and clear, the shot into here. So I have the Super 8.8. You either have this, or I believe you have the 9.75 as options for this truck. You can see that there's a lot of connectors and lines on this. All these just pull off. They're on studs. So with this, I should be able to just pull this back and off, or with the screwdriver, pull this back and off. And then you should have access to all the lines, or then you should have access to all the bolts. So you can see there's a stud here, there's a stud here, there's a stud here. These will be used to put this back on. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to crack this open. It's held on by sealant, so not a gasket. Now one step before I do this is I want to make sure that I can crack open the fill port on the back side, because if I can't get that fill port open, I don't want to drain this yet, because that would just be a disaster, because I'd either need to buy a new cap here that has a fill port on it, or I need to find a way to get that open. So I'm going to go ahead, I believe it's a 3/8 drive, yep. And I'm going to see if I can get this fill port to move at all. Now I did spend a good amount of time lubricating this stuff just to make sure that it comes off, and I've been letting it sit overnight. Okay, now that that's coming off, I can go ahead and start taking the bolts off out here. Now for these, it's going to be a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and use my impact and remove them. Yeah, these are probably good to have lubed up beforehand. These are definitely more on the corroded side. So because of that, I'm going to push them on and off a few times just to ensure that I can get the socket out after, and the bolt out after. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to leave one up top, maybe two up top, just so that I can tilt this pan out after and drain everything out. But this is going to be a slow process, as you can see, because all these look to be pretty well jammed in there. All right, so I got most of the bolts out, so we're in a pretty good place now. Now I left the top two in here. I actually put this bolt over here and then this one up here just so that I can take this out easier. But now with all the bolts out, all the top two in, I'm going to stick a pry tool in here and just pry this off slowly so that the fluid will drain into here. So I did want to share this full section of the video so you can see exactly how I took this cover off. I prefer to start in the bottom passenger side and work my way in. Your goal is going to be to slowly progress until the cover decides to pop off. I've linked the tool that I'm using for this in the description below. The cover is not that thin, so you can go ahead and put a little bit of force on it. And just like that, it starts draining. You really do need a good pry bar to get this off though. Fluid overall doesn't look that bad after 100,000. It's not dark. Okay, let's go ahead and get this cover ready to get cleaned up. We'll let this drip for a while. I'm me go ahead and drop the jack just so it's completely flat. The surface overall even looks pretty good. All right, so looking at this, I mean, it looks pretty decent inside. No metal flakes or anything. We're gonna go ahead and clean this up and we're gonna prep it to go back on, but I wanna make sure all these surfaces are clean and dry. You can see some of the gasket that's left over here. So I'm gonna use a mix of scraper, some alcohol, and some wire brushes just to clean everything up, to get it nice and flat so that I have a good mating surface to go back on. I'm also probably gonna clean up the outside of this because this is indeed quite rusty and a mess, but even if the outside does look like this, really isn't too bad if you wanna reuse it. But I'll go ahead, I'll clean this up with a scraper and then we'll go ahead and come back and take a look at it. So these brushes here that I'm gonna link in the description are 100% the way to go. They turn this project into a really quick project to get done and it leaves it nicely cleaned. So use the brushes on it and you can see it came out pretty good. Now all this mating surfaces are nice and clean. So I'm gonna go ahead and use some brake cleaner on it, make sure all the surfaces are nice and clean, as you can see here, and then we're gonna go ahead and prep it to get ready to go back into the truck. But first, we gotta go clean off the other side on the truck. All right, so under here I'm gonna be doing the same thing. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna just take some wipes and wipe out everything on the inside here just to see, because that's where the majority of the junk is gonna be left. Probably use some paper towels for that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and clean the rest of this. I have to clean this surface just as I did the other one. I'm gonna use some rags. I'm gonna put it over this so that no junk goes into here. But you can see there is a sump in here that does need to be cleaned out. So gloves, paper towels are a must. Now with all that there, I'm gonna go ahead and put some rags over this just because I wanna make sure that when I'm scraping this, I'm not actually getting any junk. So you can use rags, you can use paper towels, you can use pretty much whatever you want to accomplish that. Just make sure whatever you do, you don't get junk inside of this. Now with this, I'm gonna go ahead and do exactly what I did with the cap, and I'm gonna go ahead and clean this off, make sure everything is clean, and then I'm gonna use some brake cleaner, carburetor cleaner, something to get all the junk off, and then get it ready to go back together. Now, if you're going to be using a wheel like this, also make sure that the wheel is going towards the outside so that you're not dragging anything in like this. You can see how nice of a job this does clean, but it could get caught like that and pull it in. So you also have to watch out for that. But it does a really nice job cleaning. So this to get all the big chunks off, and then I'll use the wheel to get everything else off. And make sure you scrape away from the inside of this. I'm going to go ahead and brake clean this entire surface. Whatever really you want to use, but you need to get all the chemicals off and get all the oil off of this, so you have a good surface to seal to. Okay, now we get to get the sealant on this. Now for the sealant, we're going to be using this Permatex gear oil gasket maker. And our goal is going to be to put it around the inboard side of here, because you want to ensure that no matter what you do, you don't have a path where the oil can go from here through this hole. So let's go ahead and put some on. Little bit of a mess, but we're all on there. Now the goal is to get a lot on this mating surface here and then go on the inside and then do the same. But overall, looks pretty good. Screwed up here, but should get decent coverage. Okay, we're ready to go back together. Okay, now with everything in place, everything cleaned up, we're gonna try to see if we can get in there without moving it at all. And then we're gonna put in 2 screws at the top just to hold it and locate it. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna eyeball it. I'm going to pull it down there, and then while I have all these screws lined up, I'm going to go ahead and put in 2 bolts to hold it in place. Or a few bolts, just so that nothing moves around. And then you can pretty clearly see where the studs are going to go. This one's gonna go up here. This one's gonna go here. My other bolts. Then we're gonna go ahead and tighten these down. We're gonna get them snug and then we're gonna torque them down. Then we go ahead and tighten all these down just in a star pattern. I'm going to go ahead and do it in the same pattern. With that all set, I'm just going to go ahead and take out the fill plug now because that's where I'm going to be going next. But at this point in time, you can go ahead and connect everything back to the location it was. Okay, with that all set there, we're going to go ahead and wait at least an hour for that to dry before we start putting the fluid in it. So let's go ahead, take a few minute break. Now don't wipe off any of that excess that's around the outside. You want to keep that there, no chance of causing any gaps. It'll go ahead and dry, it'll be completely fine. Okay, so it's been well over an hour, so we're going to go ahead and get ready to put the fluid in. I'm going to use what was originally in my truck, which is the Motorcraft 7585. You can do what you want. Go ahead and look up what's in your specific truck and decide what you want to use. This is definitely more expensive. I'm at 100,000 miles and my differential looks great, so I don't really see any need to change. So with this, we're going to go ahead and swap it out. I'm going to show you how to put this in, and we're going to go ahead and fill it until we see it start coming out that hole. Now, one more fluid that you might need in your truck is this here additive friction modifier. Now, this is only needed if you have a limited slip differential, which I'm going to show you how to check. If you don't know, you can be safe and use it, but we're going to go ahead. I'm going to show you exactly what to look at so you know how to determine what axle's in your truck. On the driver's side door of this truck here, one of these labels is going to have exactly which axle you have, and this is what we're going to use to determine what you need. Now, down here you can say I have an axle code 27. And with that, that's saying that I don't have a limited slip differential, so I don't need to worry about adding this to my truck. I could if I wanted to, but you don't have to. Okay, so relatively simple. Just gonna go ahead, put this in, and then squeeze. That's a wonderful noise. Then I'm going to go ahead and repeat this until full, until it starts draining. Now, to continue on. So you can see just after around 3 full ones, I am pretty full. And it is now actively dripping, which is what you want. So with that, this is now full. We can put the cap back on, we can put the plug back in, and we should be all set. Now for the plug, I'm going to go ahead and use some of this Permatex thread sealant on it, and we're just going to go ahead and put it on, and then use this, and we're going to go ahead and put this back in. Now the project's as easy as that. A little bit of time spent getting the cover off, cleaning everything up, and then waiting for the sealant to dry. But after that, it's a pretty straightforward project, whether you're doing the front or the rear of this car. Now you don't need to jack the truck up, which is nice, but jacking it up a little does help get you a little bit more clearance. And taking the spare tire out, I think is really smart to do because you get to see, is your spare tire system working, and is your keyhole frozen like mine was. Thanks for tuning in to Smackey's Garage this week. Everything's going to be linked in the comments down below if you want to do this project yourself. I'll see you next time.